Wagwan viewers! It is me, Jack Cox. Don't laugh. And today, as you may or may not know, I'm going to review Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, again, as you may or may not know, I, myself, Matt Kraft and Smouts Films, but you can call them Matt and Luke, saw Batman v Superman recently, and Matt rated the film 7 out of 10 before, quote,
I lowered my expectations, so it was better than what I thought.
Whilst Luke rated the film 5 out of 10, following with, quote,
Wouldn't watch it again.
Personally, I gave the film 8 out of 10 because, like Matt, after hearing unpromising things about it from both critics and some members of the audience, I thought it was going to blow. But boy, was I wrong. Today in this review, I'll mainly focus on all the things I liked about the film, things I didn't like about the film, and everything in between. Oh, and don't say I didn't warn you, but this review will contain spoilers, as the film has been out for a while now, so I'm assuming you've already watched it. Okay, starting off with the good things. Number 1. Ben Affleck as Batman. Okay, so unlike with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, I had no trouble adjusting to the new Batman at all, because don't forget, we did technically just have Christian Bale as Batman. I know director Zack Snyder is trying to go for a more realistic setting for his planned DC Cinematic Universe, or whatever you want to call it, but as this film is packed with fantasy-like action, I'll talk more about that later on, I think this Batman looks more comfortable in this less supposed real-life world, because, let's be honest, the realistic setting is more of the Christopher Nolan Batman films' thing. In fact, if you look at Ben Affleck's face and compare that with Bruce Wayne in the comics, you could see some similarities with the two. Since they're so similar, and the fact that most people state Ben Affleck was brilliantly nailing the character of both Bruce Wayne and Batman, it just makes so much sense, you know what I mean? Probably not. Anyways, moving on. Number 2. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Well, to sum up Jesse's performance in a nutshell, he was like the newborn baby of Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor and Heath Ledger's Joker, hence why his performance kind of made me uncomfortable. But I guess if the film is trying to aim for a relentlessly dark and humorless tone, which again I'll complain about more later, then why not? I wouldn't mind seeing him around again. Number 3. Jeremy Irons as Alfred. Now, I'm just going to put this out there, but I feel like Alfred shouldn't be portrayed as a Cockney British being like in the Dark Knight films. I always pictured Alfred as more posh and always on the assist when on missions, and Jeremy Irons delivers just that, and just that perfectly. So perfectly, in fact, that at one point he controls the Batwing for Batman after he just fought Superman to go and rescue his mum from Lex's custody. My only criticism was that I read he was going to deliver some form of humor in parts, and he hardly attempted that at all. Still, Jeremy did great. Number 4. The visuals. Moving away from the cast and performances, we all know that Zack Snyder is great on the visuals, but not so much when it comes to storytelling. Kind of reminds me of a certain somebody. I can't remember who, but all I know is that his name starts with an M. But back to the review. The visuals did pretty much look kind of realistic, despite the film itself not being realistic at all. And that's what made the action sequences a bit hooking for me, especially when it comes to the actual fight between Batman and Superman. But with audiences complaining how CGI is being overused nowadays, and me myself not blaming them, could we go for something a little more practical next time, please? Number 5. Introductions to other DC characters. I have to admit, even though this film packed too much in than it needed to, what got me hyped is the unexpected introductions of DC characters who are not Batman or Superman. Because even though we all know that Warner Brothers have mostly been producing solo Batman and Superman movies, due to almost effortless attempts like Catwoman and Green Lantern, I've kind of always wanted them to do films about other characters in the DC universe, like Wonder Woman and The Flash. And just like with the Avengers, that sparked my inner child of seeing these characters on screen together for the very first time. I mean, because, well, as a kid, I was into comic books and superheroes a lot. Okay, now that I've brushed off all the good things about the film, I'm gonna list the bad things about the film. and this part will contain a major spoiler, so unless you haven't watched the film yet, like the mainstream audience, watch on. Number 1. Superman overall. Unlike Batman and Wonder Woman in the film, I feel that this Superman is a bit out of place, both literally when it comes to the film's tone and characteristically. I say he's out of place when it comes to the tone because I was hoping he would develop into the real Superman we all know and love, with him finally reaching his more optimistic and stereotypically American Boy Scout-like approach to situations. But no. With the addition of Batfleck and Jesse Luthor, his character seems to be underwritten, always looking miserable. It actually reminded me of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, who cried more than he needed to. Not that I didn't like him as Spider-Man. Anyways, back to the review. And we really just don't get to know him as Superman at all. We only really get to know him as Clark Kent. And what really bugs me is that, major spoiler alert, he died in the hands of an unnecessarily rushed and adapted storyline. Oh, and of course, Doomsday, who I'll talk about later on. And that just made me feel like he was used as an extra in an unrealistic Batman film for marketing purposes. Though at the end, when we zoom in on the dirt on Superman/Clark Kent's grave, and when it rises up, hopefully he'll come out as a more positive Superman. After all, the upcoming Justice League movies are apparently going for a lighter tone. But we'll never know until then. Number 2. The relentlessly dark and humorless tone. Okay, DC fans, and DC yourself, I get it. You're trying to compete with What's Their Name whilst at the same time trying not to compete with What's Their Name. And therefore it's good. I'm not going to say that the film's moody tone was one of its setbacks, but the film just took itself way too seriously, and I couldn't help but laugh at one scene when Alfred is testing Batman's voice changer in the cowl. Number 3. Doomsday. Why, DC? Why? You wasted an omnipotent Superman villain who succeeded to the point where all the other Superman villains failed, by killing the Man of Steel himself. But despite the earlier criticism of Doomsday looking like a Ninja Turtle, oh, I didn't know Raphael was in this movie! I thought his monstrous appearance and nature was pretty much spot on, though I wish they would have saved him for a later film in the DC film universe. Again, call it whatever you want to call it, okay? Number 4. The showdown between Batman and Superman. Now, like in Man of Steel, where Superman and General Zod are punching each other into different parts of Metropolis, I thought this fight was going to go exhilaratingly into different places. Like, I assumed from the trailers that Batman was going to use the Batmobile and Batwing to attack Superman, as well as using his Kryptonite updated gadgets. But really, the fight just took place around one location, starting outside an abandoned building and then going in. The fight didn't even last that long either. I think it was like 15 to 20 minutes. So, pretty much, I was disappointed with how it turned out. Almost. Yeah, I was almost disappointed. Number 5. It packed too much in. Well, it's understandable, I guess, if it wants to start the train on the train track for DC Shared Universe films by including cameos and references to other characters, but for a film that's called Batman v Superman, you'd expect the film to focus entirely on them. But including too much information about the universe that's responsible for this film's slow pacing in parts, scenes that don't make sense and don't match the plot, and incinerating the conflict results in a 2.5-hour long trailer for the Justice League movie if they're not careful. Which should consider itself lucky, as that's what it's gonna get. It's no wonder the film's title was just a way of making money. Well, what's my overall verdict, you ask? Well, I'll tell you what my overall verdict is. Although the film boasts stunning visuals and performances by Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, or however you pronounce it, Jeremy Irons, and surprisingly Jesse Eisenberg, and the excitement for future DC Shared Universe movies, Batman v Superman nevertheless fails to deliver what it says on the box. Well, that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching my first film review in forever. This is intentionally a one-off style of video for my channel, but if you guys want me to review another popular film in the future that I obviously would have seen, let me know in the comments of a future video. But for now, be sure to leave a like, share and subscribe, and until the next video, peace.